Leonard Williams just put the finishing touches on the second best season for a defensive tackle in Seahawks history. In Cortez Kennedy's illustrious Hall of Fame career, you can only say one season truly eclipses what Leonard Williams has done in 2024, and that was the 1992 season Tez won Defensive Player of the Year on a team that went 2-14. The Big Cat arrived last year in a trade deadline deal at the high cost of a second-round pick with high expectations. Then this offseason, the Seahawks made him one of the few $20 million a year defensive tackles, and he's been more than well worth the investment. Last year, he was a helpful injection on a lackluster defensive line. This year, he's been a game wrecker. It started right from the jump, the first game of the season against Denver. He impacted the action every which way but loose, blowing up the run and creating consistent pressure against a good Broncos offensive line to the tune of 5 quarterback hits and a multitude of pressures. He was also able to help force an interception for Julian Love with his quick pressure on a play, which has been another consistent staple of his productivity in other games this year, helping cause interceptions or near turnovers at that. Atlanta, Week 7. Williams loops around Derek Hall, and both Byron Murphy and Williams create quick pressure on Kirk Cousins, who airmails the throw over Kyle Pitts' head, which isn't easy to do. Kobe Bryant makes the pick thanks to some help from the Big Cat and the Rook on the defensive line. Then you have Week 9 against the Rams. Leonard Williams shrugs off a double team like two gnats buzzing around his head and nails Matt Stafford as he throws the ball, not allowing Stafford to step into the throw. The ball hangs in the air long enough for Reek Woolen to track it and pick it. Arizona, 2 weeks later. Again, the Big Cat shrugs off a weak-ass double team, smacking Kyler Murray as he makes the throw. It was initially ruled a fumble that was later overturned upon review. Later in the game, Leonard snaps the guard in two off the snap like a fortune cookie, instantly flushing Kyler from the pocket and helping to eventually cause a hurried throw that's almost picked by Julian Love. One of the scarier prospects in football has to be Leonard Williams, lined up as a wide 9, shooting off the line of scrimmage like a drag car off the blocks. The left tackle here gets too wide, the Big Cat shoots inside, and Josh Allen feels the beast bearing down, rushing his throw and allowing Josh Jobe to jump the route for a pick. Back to his progression on the year, after his sparkling Week 1 performance, Leonard got another 2 quarterback hits and 2 quarterback sacks Week 2 in New England, but it was his 5 tackles on the day and the presence in the run game that helped the Seahawks come away with the win. The next week at home, he injured his ribs against the Miami Dolphins. The injury took him out of the game early and probably took weeks to recover from as he toughed it out throughout the year. The pain must have been excruciating, especially if we ever come to find that the rib was fractured. Yet he only missed 1 game and remained effective during his recovery, impacting both the pass and the run, even as the defense as a whole struggled through the midseason period. Tackles, pressures, sacks, tip passes were all consistent pieces of Leonard's production throughout the year. But Leo, perhaps getting finally fully healthy, hit a different level of dominance right around Week 12 against the Cardinals. Arizona tried him with sorry-ass Evan Brown at left guard, and the Big Cat abused him so badly, some grandma in Mesa, Arizona called Child Protective Services on Leo mid-game. He threw around Evan like a tackle sled, took apart the gap-running scheme of Arizona, where they pull linemen across the formation, which can have its benefits in the run game, but if you have a disruptor like Leo, a large man that moves like a literal big cat, he can take the play apart before it even begins. Williams racked up 6 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, a pass defensed, and 4 quarterback hits, helping to keep the Cardinals' offense to 6 points on the day. The very next week, he built upon that bludgeoning, clawing and scratching his way through the Jets' offensive line. He was unblockable on the day, putting up another insane stat line. 4 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, a pass defensed, an interception, 2 quarterback hits, and a touchdown. And there could have been a 3rd sack had he not grazed Aaron Rodgers' face mask early in the game while he was taking him to the ground. If Williams has any chance of winning Defensive Player of the Year this year, this will be the game that sways voters. On top of the pressures, sacks, and continued run game dominance, he showed he could even drop back in coverage and be a factor. Late in the second half against the Jets in a close game, on a zone drop, Williams stuck out a big paw in the passing lane, tipped it back up to himself, and then proceeded to pull off the longest interception return for a player over 300 pounds in NFL history. They say in East Rutherford he was moving over 17 miles an hour and that the cops on the field wanted to fine the Seahawks for not having a permit for something that big moving that fast in New York. For the next 3 games, Leonard still made his presence felt, but teams started to dedicate 2 blockers to him. 7 tackles in each of the next 2 games, more tackles for loss, more pressures, more quarterback hits. The double teams could only hope to contain the carnage. And then came the Chicago Bears game. He'd already provided a run of excellence at that time of year when the Seahawks were most desperate for it. A few games he put the defense on his back. This includes that make-or-break game against the Bears, where he turned in a stout effort against the run and provided pressure throughout the night. When the Seahawks needed him to dominate, he brought home 5 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, and 4 quarterback hits. The defense could give up no more than 3 points on the day, where the Seahawks were cooked, and the Big Cat and the defense stood mighty tall to the task. In the final game of the year against the Rams, with nothing on the line, when most veterans on a comfortable contract would look to shut it down, Williams logged 5 tackles, 2 sacks, a tackle for loss, and 2 quarterback hits. Everywhere, active, showing the young players this is the new standard for the future. Always play hard. 64 tackles, 11 sacks, 16 tackles for loss, 28 quarterback hits, 3 passes defensed, 1 interception, and a 90-yard touchdown return. The NFL seemed to believe in their grand wisdom that Leonard Williams isn't even a Pro Bowler this year. But for my money, the Big Cat has as good an argument as any for the 2024 Defensive Player of the Year. The Seahawks defense will go from bottom third last year to top third this year. There are many reasons for it, but Leonard's played a central role in this turnaround. His penchant for making game-changing plays in close games swung at least a few wins into the team's favor this year. There is no runaway favorite for Defensive Player of the Year, and every individual person from media member to fan has their own personal metric for what determines who deserves these kind of awards. From visible impact to being a key figure in razor-tight games to filling up a stat sheet like Larry Bird, the Big Cat has made one hell of a strong case to the AP sports writers who vote on these awards to keep your Pro Bowls and All-Pros. Just give that man his damn award. My name is Brandon Kane. This is the Hawks Nest. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. But beyond all that, don't you ever forget, go Hawks.